Well, good evening. This is another episode of National Divorce Talk Raw. Now, we've been covering how Roe v. Wade was overturned by the federal Supreme Court, and that we had predicted that 4 years ago here at the Cal-Exit Movement. Other Californians didn't want to listen. They thought it was a scary future, but we said, look at the way America's going. This is going to happen. And while we're not pleased, it is noteworthy to point out that our predictions about the way that America was going to go that we made in 2018 have completely come to pass, especially with Roe v. Wade. One of the issues, though, is that a lot of Californians are doing the same thing that happened in 2016. When Donald Trump was elected in 2016, Californians, some of them, said, there's no problem. All we have to do is vote him out and somebody will get voted in and everything will be fixed and returned back to normal. So you don't need to leave the federal system because the federal system works. You just got to vote them out and vote someone in, and that person will definitely fix everything. We've covered how America chose Joe Biden to replace Donald Trump and how Joe Biden kept up the kids in cages, the refugee cap, the continuance on allowing for fracking, the warmongering, the giving the Pentagon whatever they want, and just generally being a buffoon on the world stage. We're not against Democrats here. And we're not for Republicans here. What we are for is California and the idea that California can do better on its own without anybody in the federal government. As we've always said here at Yes California, when somebody goes and works in the federal government for California, they go work for the federal government and not California any longer. So let me show you an example of the fact that national Democrats will not protect California values. And they're little better than Republicans when it comes to Roe v. Wade. Again, Roe v. Wade being overturned was horrible. California is a progressive place. California is a majority liberal place. But the concept of Californians saying, hey, one more election, we'll just vote differently. We'll vote for national Democrats and all of California's values will be protected is a garbage concept. And I want to prove that to you now. Let's take a couple looks at some information. So what I wanted to show you is this. This is an article called What Would California Do If Congress Passes a National Abortion Ban by the Sacramento Bee? And I'll point out that what they're talking about is if America passes a nationwide abortion ban, they're talking about nullification and secession may seem like rusty terms for more than a century, but they've recently regained some currency. Could there be some point where California defiance triggers a constitutional crisis? That's what we've been saying here. California is operating so far in the tradition of states going their own way while being careful to not openly reject California law. I don't exactly agree with that. We do push back against federal law. Courts have consistently ruled against nullifying such statutes, citing the supremacy clause in the Constitution, which says federal law supersedes all other. However, states have taken notable stands against federal policy. Kentucky, etc. Nullification, and here we go. Hold on. There you go. Golden State nullification. California has contested federal mandates with nullification-like policy. So this article is talking about what's California going to do if there's a nationwide abortion ban? Well, last time there was a civil war and there was secession and nullification, meaning ignoring the laws of the federal government and just seceding. That's what the South did right before the Civil War. That's what they're pointing out. And then they're saying nullification is kind of a thing that California does a lot of. And it's pushing that limits like the South did in 1861. That's what the article's saying. That is one answer to what would California do if there's a nationwide abortion ban from the Sacramento Bee. However, here's another answer. Scott Weiner is a California state senator, and he said, the best way to prevent a federal abortion ban is to harness public opinion and turn out voters in November. We need to make sure we never get there. He said, we need to win elections. The policies are on our side on the issues, banning abortion, ending marriage equality. These ideas are not popular. So we need to win elections and make sure this doesn't happen in the first place. That's from State Senator Scott Weiner. That's what he says. I want to show you how he's totally wrong. So take a look at this. If Roe v. Wade was never codified in Congress, and the Democrats have had 3 different Democrat presidents who could have done it, and none of them did. So what they're pointing out is Clinton could have codified Roe v. Wade when he was president because there was a period where he had a majority control in Congress. So why did Bill Clinton, the Democrat, not codify Roe v. Wade when he had a majority in Congress? That's what USA Today is asking in this article here. They're not alone. Barack Obama also had a majority in Congress for a little while, and he did not codify Roe v. Wade. In fact, Obama campaigned on codifying Roe v. Wade and then lied and broke his campaign promise and never codified it, even though they had the ability to do so. That's what Newsweek is pointing out. They're not alone, though. Democrats won the Senate when Joe Biden was president, which means that Joe Biden would actually have control of the Congress for a year to codify Roe v. Wade. So why is Biden calling on Congress to undo the filibuster when the Democrats won the Senate and they already own the House and the presidency, and yet Biden himself, after they won the Senate, could not codify Roe v. Wade? And so you have Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and Joe Biden all had a period where they had control of Congress, and all 3 did not codify Roe v. Wade. So when I hear the solution to a nationwide abortion ban is to simply vote National Democrats into office, I say, why is that the solution? They failed 3 times in a row. The 4th time is the charm. You know, when I actually say that to people, they all laugh. Nobody's able to keep a straight face when I say that. I go, so Democrats lost 3 times in a row. They totally backed down, could have done this, did absolutely nothing, but 4th time's the charm. I use the phrase 4th time's the charm. Nobody can keep a straight face. That just sounds so stupid to say bet on a group who's failed you 3 times in a row. They're the magic solution. But it's even worse than that. Let me show you a little bit more. It's not just the 3 Democratic presidents. It goes even further in disappointment. So let's take a look at this.
A little bit more about the politics. Kamala Harris had a big sit-down interview yesterday with Dana Bash. And, I think a lot of Democrats, we talked yesterday about how a lot of the Democratic base is really waking up to just how failed Democrats have been over the past 50 years in preparing for this moment. Or even consider, the Biden administration kind of got a little bit of a head start on this since the draft was leaked. We all knew this was coming. They had quite a bit of time to prepare some kind of a response, and they got nothing. Any idea that anyone puts forward of, hey, let's get rid of the filibuster, let's codify Roe. Hey, how about what about we could put something Elizabeth Warren said, we could put clinics on federal lands? What about these justices that lied during their confirmation hearing? Shouldn't we do something about that? One after another, it's just like, oh, we're really upset and give us $15. Are you going to do anything? Yeah, no, not so much. Here's one example of that with Kamala Harris and Dana Bash.
Can the administration expand abortion access or abortion services on federal land, meaning provide the access on federal land that might be in and around states that ban abortion?
I think that what is most important right now is that we ensure that the restrictions that the states are trying to put up that would prohibit a woman from exercising what we still maintain is her right, that we do everything we can to empower women to not only seek but to receive the care where it is available.
Is federal land one of those options?
I mean, it's not right now what we are discussing, but I will say that when I think about what is...
So Kamala Harris is a woman from California, and she was not able to come up with any plans or backup plans that other women were suggesting as a way to protect Roe v. Wade. She's largely provided zero leadership. In fact, it's so bad that Kamala Harris has been largely mocked for all of her responses to Roe v. Wade. They asked Kamala to explain why Democrats failed for 50 years to not codify abortion rights into federal law. And Kamala Harris said, I think that, to be honest with you, I do believe that we should have rightly believed that we certainly believe that certain issues are just settled. Clearly, they were not. No, that's right. And that's why I believe we live in sadly unsettled times. So Here was a top Democrat vice president asked, can you explain why the past 3 Democratic presidents did not codify Roe v. Wade and why Americans should still have faith in your party? And she said, well, we just thought certain issues were settled. That's not really a good answer. And she was largely mocked for her response there and mocked for her response here. So multiple Kamala Harris responses. She's a woman. She's from California. This is a women's issue. And she has completely failed. California. Not alone. Let's take a look at Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi was blasted for her reactions to end Roe v. Wade. This is in San Francisco Gate, a hardcore liberal California newspaper. Nancy Pelosi blasted for her reactions to the end of Roe v. Wade. And why is that? Her reactions seemed tone deaf, as though she has no connection to the people of California. That's what a San Francisco newspaper where Nancy Pelosi works is saying about Nancy Pelosi. This isn't Fox News. This is one of the most liberal newspapers here. She gives a poem about how she's sad to see the lack of patriotism in her country. People thought that was a little bit lame. Her performance was hollow and performative, and hollow was the way they described it. But to make matters worse, the Pelosi used the Supreme Court decision as an opportunity to raise the Democratic National Committee with a fundraising email sign Nancy appeared in users' inboxes across the U.S. shortly after the ruling was erased. Sending a normal fundraising email won't suffice. So a lot of women are really disgusted with Nancy Pelosi because they felt that she was money grubbing. Roe v. Wade gets overturned, and Nancy Pelosi gives a poem that a lot of people don't really get, provides no plans on how to fix it, but says, give me money right away. And that was seen as disgusting by a lot of women. But we're not done, because this is something that came out on CNN, but you're not going to find very often. That's that after the leaked decision of Roe v. Wade came out. So after the leaked decision of Roe v. Wade comes out, Joe Biden then decides to appoint an anti-abortion Republican to a federal judgeship. So right after federal judges who have extreme opinions on abortion have been appointed for Trump, and they managed to overturn Roe v. Wade, and we're seeing that that's going to happen because the draft decision comes out, Joe Biden acts like Trump and works to appoint another anti-abortion person to a federal judgeship. Right after Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned and the draft decision comes out, Joe Biden, while saying he's horrified by that, does more of the same problem. He appoints an anti-abortion guy to a federal judgeship. Yes, Joe Biden, top Democrat, right after Roe v. Wade leaked decision comes out, decides to do more of the same thing that Donald Trump did. And so my question to you is, Obama lied about doing it, couldn't do it. Clinton couldn't do it. Biden couldn't do it. Harris has outright performed horribly. Nancy Pelosi is seen as a shill, and Joe Biden planned on appointing another anti-choice judge to a federal judgeship. That's the national party that's going to support California values in protecting Roe v. Wade? You cannot be that possibly dumb. Again, not saying anything about California Dems or California Republicans. Just saying Californians, this idea that Americans, whether they call themselves liberal or not, or whether they say that they're from California, are going to have anything to do with protecting your values is insanity. I just showed that to you. Well, we'll see you next time.